Hi, today we're going to talk about how to go between a proportional graph, table, or equation. So what I mean by that is, let's say I have an equation that is proportional. So y equals 1/2 x. Then to go between a graph, table, or equation, that means I'm going to create a table from this equation and I'm going to create a graph from this equation. So let's start with creating a table. When I create tables, I always like to use the x values -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Those are what I like to use. For this example, I'm going to go ahead and also use 4. Okay, then what we do is, and I should mention that we get to choose the x values. So I just chose -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 because I like those numbers always. I always choose those numbers. Now we're going to plug in the x value. So for this first one, we do y equals, so to find what y is, we do 1/2 times x, which is -1. So 1/2 times -1, which is -1/2, or -0.5 if you prefer decimals. The next one is 0. 1/2 times 0. Well, that's just 0. And the next one is 1/2 times 1, which is 1/2. 1/2 times 2, the answer is 1. 1/2 times 3 is 1.5. And 1/2 times 4, that equals 2. So we have now successfully gone from an equation to a table. Now to make a graph, I'm not going to be able to make a perfect one. Sorry about that. But you'll still be able to get the idea of how to solve this. So if I have this graph, and hopefully when you're doing this, you're either doing it on the computer where you already have a pre-made graph, or you're doing it on like a whiteboard or on a paper with a real graph. These are each points. So this is really the point -1, comma, -1/2. Which means to plot this point, I'm going to go backwards 1 and then down just half. So see how I didn't go all the way down right here? I just went down half. This next point is 0, 0. That's nice and easy. That's the origin. And fun fact, for all proportional graphs, you should have the origin in there, 0, 0. The next one is 1, 1/2. The first number is always how far from side to side do I go. The second number is how far up and down. So I go to the right 1 because it's a positive 1, and I only go up a half. So notice I didn't go all the way up here. The next one is 2, 1. So I go to the right 2, 1, 2, and I go up. Now I go all the way up 1. The next one is 3, 1.5. So I go to the right 3, 1, 2, 3, and I go up 1.5. And the last one is 4, 2. So I go to the right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I go up 1, 2, right there. It's hard for me to tell. Maybe right about there. Excellent. Then I have, whoa, that was a terrible line. I will try to draw a line connecting those points. It's not perfect. But if you were on a graph, an actual coordinate plane, then it would be perfect. So this is if we started with an equation. Then I made my table, and then I was able to make my graph. Well, next, let's look at what if I start with a table? Well, if I start with a table, x, y, I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to do my table side to side. Let's say I start with the table. So this is like already given to you. And let's say we go with 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. So again, it's already given to you, so it might not be those numbers I always like to use as the x values. And let's say it's 6, 12, 18, and 24. And we need to create the equation, and we need to create the graph. Well, we could choose either way. We could choose to go with the graph first, or we could choose to go with the equation first. Either way is fine. I'm going to go with the graph first, just because it's so easy. The points are already here for me. This is 0, 0. X is always first. And keep in mind, same as last time, this will not be perfect. Also, I see a flaw in the choice I've chosen because the numbers are so big. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so 0, 0 is right here. Then the next one is 2, 6, because X is always first and then Y. So I go over 2 and I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the next one is 4, 12. So I go over 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I go up 12. Well, I know that was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is going to be up here. So I'm obviously out of room. But the next point I would plot is 6, 18 and 8, 24. And then once you have plotted all those, you can just connect them with a line to make your graph. Then the last step is equation. Well, we know because it's proportional, it's going to be y equals some number, which happens to be our constant of proportionality, times x. There are multiple ways to find that number. You could use the table and do your fraction y over x. So if we do y divided by x, I'm going to do 6 divided by 2. So 6 divided by 2, that equals 3. And we can check all of them. Remember, if the table is proportional, they all should be 3. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 18 divided by 6 is 3. 24 divided by 8 is 3. So we know it's y equals 3x. Or you could have gone with the graph instead. And this number would be your rise over your run, which we call the slope. And our rise, let's say I go from 0, 0 to 2, 6. My rise is I went up 6. And then my run is I went to the side 2. And I need to simplify that as much as I can, which is 3, which is good. You should have gotten the same thing as the table. Y equals 3x. So we were able to go from a table to both a graph and an equation. And our last step, what if we start with a graph and then we need to create a table or an equation? Now, same as before, my graph, it's not going to be perfect. And you know what? That's okay. Well then, to make your table, because they're proportional, we know we're going to 0, 0. Fun fact. I'm going to start with making that table, x, y, because that shouldn't be too hard. I can see the point is 0, 0. And now I just fill in the points. My next point is 1, 1. My next point is 2, 2. So I just fill in a 2 and a 2. And my next point is 3, 3. And I can write the equation. We know it's going to be y equals some number times x. We could either go to our table and do y divided by x, or go to our graph and find that rise over run. Either way, it's going to be 1 over 1, or 2 over 2, or 3 over 3, which all equals 1. So we have y equals 1 times x, which y equals 1 times x is really just y equals x. So there you go. Now you can go between a graph table or equation, or I should say a proportional graph table or equation.